Hey, you good? In this new episode, we are going to cover how to create a properly form in HTML. Okay, I know you are looking code, so let's see the final result. And please don't get crazy or don't be mad at the result. But the idea is get something like that. I try to remember. Don't worry about the style because the style is something that we are not to cover yet. And well, in the future, we're going to do a CSS course to know how to create forms like this. Because if I remove the styles, well, the result will be very different. So let's see. If you can see, we have a nice contact form when we use name, email, phone, message, and whatever. So if I remove the style section or just comment it, like using a control key, control C, and save, you see, okay, something similar, but a bit ugly. Okay, because I want you to get familiar with the standard representation or how are the default styles. So I know, or well, I want you get or you understand each HTML element that we can use to create a properly form. So let's get into the code. We are going to keep the style just right there to notice the difference between each section, because you can see, well, you already know how to detect a specific, well, some sections. For example, you just right there we have a hidden one section, but it's remarkable that we have this tiny line or stride that, well, contains this information and split them about, for example, the message section. And at the end, we have the submit button. So if we go back, you can see the following code. First of all, we are using container tags like this. In this class, we are going to cover maybe tags that you can use to contain or group certain elements, and in the future add them CSS styles. For example, we are using this div, but this div is not relevant. If I remove this as maybe the visual representation, it won't be changed. Is the same result. We use this div to contain all these elements and after applying them styles like just right there. So don't worry about it, but using div and use classes like container in the future will help us to maybe separate contents and apply them different types of CSS styles. So in the first section we have the hidden one, contact form, so it's not a big deal. The second one is the form tag, and the form tag has have two important attributes: the action and the method attribute. The action help us to redirect using a URL information once we precise the form. So in this case, if I click on the submit, take care of this because we are talking about functional a functional behavior, because if we use this form and at the end we have a button using the type submit, we are going to cover this in a few minutes. So if we use this pattern form at the and at the end the button using type submit, we are going to redirect all the information to this particular path. So in my case, I don't have a submit page, but if I save and try to submit, you see, okay, we have to use random information, and if I click submit, okay, that's well, these have a validation, so I don't know, oreje. And if you see, we change, or we being redirected to the slash submit, but we don't have nothing in submit. And in the other hand, we have the method. In the future, you are going to see HTTP methods that allows people to connect, or maybe allow programs and a lot of others AT stuff to connect with others, and maybe transport information, because the HTTP protocol, the hypertext transfer protocol, help two applications to communicate each other with others, and pass information. So in this particular case, we are using the method post, but exists another methods like patch and delete. But this is weird, because we are only able to use post, get, and dialog. We don't have maybe delete or patch, and we maybe are going to cover this in the future, so don't worry about this. Is if you want to send information, you are going to use the action and the post method. So go back to the semantic relevance. In this particular case, we are using file set. File set is like a container tag, but also has a visual representation. That is this, the straight line that cover all this section is the file set. But I want to remember that the visual representation or the los styles are not relevant, because in the future we can change them using CSS code. So this behavior inside quotation mark, because it's not a behavior at all. But yeah, you understand me. It's like just an style, a visual idea about this section, a field set. But this also allows us to split maybe section like personal information, message, and maybe if you want to add another section into the same form, I don't know, like upload a folder or load a file, it has also the same use. So as you can see in the field set, we also use another tag as known as a legend, and legend allows us create maybe a similar hidden section, but this hidden inside quotation mark allows us specify the hidden file set. Is like, okay, this is the personal information, and yeah, you see that in the styles, if you see the visual representation, we have personal information between the all this line, but is the same. Forget the style representation, because in the future we can change this, so don't worry about that. But yeah, if you use the default styles, you have a basic idea how this legend tag works with field set. So in other hand, we have the label and input. If you see just right there, we have div, but again, div allows only to divide or split information, and maybe improve the improve the order and the representation about each element. Because for example, if I remove this div, maybe it won't, there are not any change. But if I remove this other div, maybe the change make this is like, oh, okay, you have name, and in the same line you have email. But so if you don't want this behavior, maybe you can use div to say, okay, please take this div and take it or use it like and one line to the beginning and the end, because this means is like, okay, the name section go just right there at the beginning, at the end, at the end of the, you can see my mouse, but I trying to say that use the line. If I remove the div, they are going to share the left space with other elements, and we don't want that. So In the other hand, okay, we have the label, and the label use this particular attributes. For example, we use for, but why I am using for just right there? Okay, for help us to redirect, or maybe connect the label or the idea, because label is just a visual representation, just right there, name, and connect with their respective input, or the corresponding input. For example, this works. Let me see. If I want to, I don't know, fill up the font section, I can click just right there, okay? But if maybe click on the font label, I will be maybe focus in the corresponding input. So, well, that is a functional behavior, but also is useful to semantic relevance and help to identify different elements. So why or how make this connection? This is easy, because the connection go thanks to the ID label. So if you use label for and use the name, it will be redirect to another input that in their ID use the same key or the same property name. In this case is name. If I change, for example, name with double E and save, and I click on name, I won't be redirect. If you see, I'm trying to click, but nothing happens. Nothing happened. So if I change this again and save, if I click on name, I will be focused in this input. So yeah, this is useful for that. But what about the other attributes like type or like name? Okay, type has functional behavior, because if we change this, we can use a lot of different type of information. For example, we are using text because we can fill with any type of text information, doesn't matter, like characters or number. But if we change this, for example, if I want to paste I want to pass a date, for example, I say date, and this change, and the web browser is so useful, because allow people to use an intuitive interface to select the corresponding date. So I can select, I don't know, June 13 and 2024, and that's correct. But I can change also for use number. So I change number, and if you are using font, in the font only will be displayed the numeric keyboard. But I am any computer, so I can use the letters, I can write. But if I write numbers, I can put them, but I can write, I don't know, Chris or hello. I can what happened just right there? Okay, I can, I don't know, well, I don't know why. Okay, well, this is weird. I don't know why I can well, maybe it's a bug for now, but I just can put an E, and that's all. And if I change, we go back to numbers. So okay, that's a bug, just ignore them. And maybe you can use other types or inputs like files. So if you want to fill up a file or send a file, you can use, and you have this intuitive interface to select your files and more. So go back to the text, because we are using text, just plain information. And the last one attribute is name. Name help is also maybe it's not a functional behavior at all. Name attribute is used by form to create and maybe an HTTP request, or maybe create a payload that will be sent to another part or another system. So if we write just right there a name, in the other system where we are going to send this form, will be received the name property. But if I write something like I don't know, in the other system, once we send the form, will be received a property known as I don't know. So this is important for maybe other systems. So in some cases, it's just like use for ID and name as the same. In this case, name. So don't worry about it. And the type, you already know that the type depends on the type of information you want to send, or you want to do include in your form. So in your form, in this case, the text. In the other hand, we have the same, but in this case, using email. Oh, I forget something, and is this required? Well, you maybe already know what is the purpose of this attribute. That is this attribute doesn't have a value. It's just a boolean attribute, or just a persist, or maybe a stand attribute. Maybe that means if we write that in explicit way, just like that, require, that means we can't send the form until we fill up all the required fields. For example, if I try to maybe write name, write phone, write message, and submit, we see please fill out this file. But if I remove require, we can send the form, okay, again, and submit. We can submit again, and doesn't happen. So require is just one. We can be sure that the user sends correctly these forms, but maybe this is not magic at all, because it's like a client validation, and the client can change this. So in the future, when you create backend, or you write more complex client application using Vue, Angular, React, you can add a more complex validation system to prevent users send incorrectly forms. So for example, you can use this in real cases. If I want to send this form without any type of information, we can use inspect, go to the label, and just change the require. So we can edit the tag, and for example, delete the require. So we edit this form. So right now I can send this form without name. So I'm going to give an example just right there. Submit. Okay, this has a validation, so example.com, and that's right. Okay, but if we reload the page, in the name require comes back, or it's a game, return, because it is a new page, so we receive again that page. And if we try to send again, you see please fill out this file, because we can change that. So it's not 100 accurate at all, because it's just like a required that the client can change if the client has a little bit about technical experience, for example, about HTML. For example, you right now you can change the forms and manipulate them and send whatever you want. Please use this knowledge in the good way, in the good sense. So if we cover the font is the same for font, ID font, name font, require, and the type is tel. So we can write tel, and tel is different than the number, but because you see in the number we use arrows to up and down, and the font is just only numbers. Maybe I can create character, because depending on the country, I don't know 100% sure, you can write a letter, so whatever. So, and maybe we are going to cover the following file set. The file set, you write the ends and other starts. In this case, this one, where we can send a message, and this space is so big because we can send a lot of information. Also, we can send in this name a lot of information, but maybe the representation is not good at all, because we only have one line, and if we wrote a lot of information, we can see the information back there. So yeah, it's not good at all. But if you use, for example, message, in this case we don't use, in this particular example we can use rows, but using the text area. For example, maybe if you want to use the type, we have button, file, email, hit, number, range, reset, search, submit, text. Okay. In this case, I don't remember at all, but we use text area, another tag than input that allows write a lot of information, and people can see that information because we have a lot of lines. But if, for example, I write them, we can, well, we go back to the second line, third line, fourth line, and if we continue, we are going to use an scroll bar, or use this that we can disable using code to prevent this maybe weird behavior. When web developers are boring just playing with this. But yeah, that's all. That's text area, but you can see that text area use also label, ID, message, and the name, well, message again. And this particular case, we use rows to indicate the default size of this text area. And if we can allow it to resize, we use the resize, I don't remember, well, we can use read only, that is just only, it won't be editable, that I don't know in what context is this will be useful. But also we have the, I don't remember, I'm sorry, but I don't remember what is the property. Oh, this is interesting here because we can use well, we don't use HTML attribute to avoid the resizing in the text area. We have to use CSS. So for example, we can use just right there, for example, a style, and modify this directly. It's not something recommend, but it's just only for example or educational purpose. And you can use, for example, resize, in this case none. So once we write this, we go back to the page and we can use the icon just right back there, and we can resize the text area, but we can continue. I use an scroll back, for example. So yeah, as you know, we are crossing that line about HTML and passing maybe a tiny steps through the CSS, but we are done start CSS yet. But yeah, you just know that CSS is useful, that you are going to see it in the future, and maybe that's all. And maybe the most important part in a HTML form is the submit button. There are different types of buttons, so don't worry, there is not only exists a button just for forms. You can use button in this way, and it's like, hello, this is a button that you can click and whatever. But the difference between the submit and hello and the submit is into the form, well, yeah, containing the form, and using the type submit. If I'm not wrong, if I remove submit, I'm going to remove the functional behavior about to send or submit the form. So let's see, submit. Okay, let's fill out random information. No me gusta, I don't like this validation. And if we try to submit, okay, this is correct, but maybe if we don't implement the type submit, this doesn't like to web crawlers. So if we want to use a button, we have to define what type of button we are using. For example, if I click type, you see we have the button type, but also we have the type button. So if you want a basic button, you are going to use the type button. It's just a generic button. It's something like, imagine that if the user click button can zoom 1+1. Okay, that's a generic button. But also you have another types of buttons like, menu or reset, that, for example, maybe has their corresponding semantic uses, but the menus, maybe if you want to open another view or another page, if you want to redirect the user to another page. And I think that's also, don't worry about it. The most common buttons are submit or button, and maybe if you are getting curious about the other ones, feel free and investigate them using MDN, the Mozilla Developer Network, because it's a useful Wikipedia about HTML, about all HTML. So I hope this video was helpful. We covered the HTML forms tags, and also we see a little bit about CSS. So don't worry about CSS. CSS is not a tragedy or something like it will be useful. Well, it could be useful. Maybe hard, not useful. CSS is so useful. It's pretty hard, but don't worry. So let's uncomment it and go back on the page, and you see the page is so nice. And you can see we can change the hello without say, hey, change the hello. Because why? Because we are using a button selector that say, hey, please, to all the HTML buttons apply this particular style. So I think is crazy. I think is so useful, and look, the result is so pretty. So I hope this video was helpful, and see you in the next time. Bye bye.